Hey everyone, it's Justin here. So this video is all about the FAQs regarding my 2024 tax return preparation class, which will take place from January the 15th, 2025 through April the 15th, 2025. So FAQ number 1, what is this class about? Well, this class is about minimizing your lifetime tax burden and maximizing the after-tax cash flow that remains in your family's pocketbook. Now wait a second, I thought this class was about preparing my tax returns for 2024. Well, it is. Preparing your tax return is like the training wheels for tax planning. A lot of people say they want to do tax planning, but tax planning opportunities come along all the time, and most Americans don't notice or recognize that they are there. And that's because they really don't have a full understanding of how their financial life will ultimately end up on their tax returns. Most of your financial life will run through your tax returns at some point, either this year or in some future year if we appropriately plan for deferral. Saying you want to do tax planning without really understanding your tax return is like saying you're going to dominate the back nine, but you never practice at the range. Okay, FAQ number 2, who is this class for? Well, this class is for people who want to learn how to minimize their family's tax burden over the course of their life, regardless of whether, number 1, they're planning to prepare their own tax return for 2024, or number 2, they're going to have their tax return prepared by a CPA or other tax professional. For folks planning to prepare their own tax returns, you will have the opportunity to follow along as we go through TurboTax 2024 edition screen by screen. I will be number 1, preparing tax returns, number 2, clarifying data entry questions, number 3, providing tax guidance from primary sources like the IRS or the tax code, and number 4, showing you how everything gets presented on the various tax forms so you can understand exactly what you are looking at. My goal for this class is to get through every data entry screen in TurboTax 2024, with some minor exceptions that I will note below. So if there's a topic that applies to you, we're almost certainly going to cover it in the class. Now, for folks planning to have their returns prepared by a CPA or other tax professional, this class gives you the chance to hone in on details and questions to raise with your CPA at your next meeting. If you're walking into those $300 an hour CPA meetings, number 1, not fully knowing what to ask, or number 2, not completely understanding what they're trying to explain, this class is an opportunity for you to get clarification. Ask your questions in the class and we'll hop into the tax return and figure out how things work so you can make the smartest tax planning decisions going forward in conjunction with your CPA. Okay, FAQ number 3, can we ask questions in the class? Well, as I just mentioned above, absolutely you can ask questions in the class. Whether you're preparing your own tax return or having it prepared by someone else, submit your questions to the class and I will address them in a video. The one thing to keep in mind is that this is a tax class. You're not engaging me to prepare your tax returns. So I'm going to provide video guidance, examples, discussion, Q&A, and go over how things work, but ultimately you're responsible for preparing your own tax returns or having them prepared by a reputable tax professional. Okay, FAQ number 4, will the class be live? Will the sessions be recorded? And what is the class schedule? Well, all sessions will be recorded so you can watch at your leisure and based on your schedule. The class will run from January the 15th, 2025 through April the 15th, 2025. There will be a video released every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday during that time period. My expectation is that the class content will lean more toward general tax training at the beginning and then transition into more specific how-to and Q&A at the end. So to summarize that, starting January the 15th will be mostly training videos to start, and then we will transition into more specific how-to and Q&A type videos as people start to come up with their questions as we get closer to April 15th. But with all that said, the class content is flexible. So what people want to hear about and what they have questions about is what the class content will ultimately be about. Okay, FAQ number 5. Are there any specifics about what tax forms will be covered in this class? Yes, this class is about the Form 1040 individual tax return and numerous related forms and schedules, including all of the forms and schedules that I have shown here on this list. Now, just to be clear, this is just a base list. Any federal tax form or schedule that is available inside of TurboTax is fair game for the class, except as specifically noted in the next FAQ. So FAQ number 6, is there anything that is specifically excluded from the class content? And the answer is yes, we are not going to cover the following as part of the class. Number 1, we are not going to cover Schedule F, which relates to farm and agricultural income. This is too specialized and not applicable to enough people to make it worthwhile to include in the class. Number 2, we are not going to cover amended tax returns. Again, this is a highly specialized area and not broadly applicable enough to make it worthwhile. And then number 3, we are going to cover state tax returns, generally speaking, by discussing topics to look for and consider when preparing your state return. However, I am not going to prepare individual state tax returns as part of the class. It is not realistic to think that I could appropriately or adequately cover the approximately 43 different state tax returns for states that impose an income tax on individuals. However, fortunately, most of the big tax planning for most people is at the federal level anyway. And for most people with one state filing, there's generally not much additional work that needs to be done on the state return once the federal return is complete. Okay, FAQ number 7, what tax preparation software will be used in the class? Well, I will be using the TurboTax Home and Business 2024 edition. TurboTax comes in 4 different levels for individuals, with the Home and Business edition being the top level, meaning that it includes everything in the 3 lower levels. So if you're using any of the 4 levels of TurboTax, all the screens available at your chosen level will be available in the class. Now, FAQ number 8, will we talk about any of the Trump tax proposals during the course? Well, since this is a 2024 tax return preparation class, we will focus primarily on the tax law in its current form as applicable to 2024. However, to the extent that any Trump administration proposed tax policy starts to become clear between now and April 15th, we will certainly discuss it and analyze how it might be expected to impact our tax planning going forward. One of the best ways to understand the impact of tax law changes on your facts and circumstances is to understand what the tax law is now. So this class will provide us an opportunity to examine existing tax law within the tax return itself, while simultaneously discussing specific tax law changes that may be coming our way. So that concludes the FAQs for the 2024 tax preparation class. This is the big warm-up to prepare for tax planning in 2025, 2026, and beyond. There's going to be lots of things to talk about. This is where all the action will be related to me and my channel for the tax busy season ending April 15th, 2025. You will learn a lot in the class class, and you will be much more comfortable dealing with taxes and doing tax planning when the class is over as compared to when it began. The purchase link to join the class can be found in the descriptions and links below this video. There's a lot of money to be kept out of the hands of the government and in the pocketbook of yourself, your spouse, and your children. All you have to do is be able to see and understand those tax planning opportunities when they present themselves, and understanding how your financial life fits into the tax return is the training wheels to get started. I look forward to seeing you in the class.